Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's BookTrib live chat. I am your host and moderator for today, BookTrib Babe. Please go follow me there on Twitter for all the latest updates going on. And welcome back. If you are familiar with our live chats, we're so happy to have you back. And if you're not that familiar with BookTrib.com, you can head over now, or actually wait till after the chat, and sign up. It's free, it's easy, and you'll get information on all the fun promotions going on, such as live author chats, blog tours, giveaways, and so much more. Well, we have a very special treat for you today. In just a few moments, we're going to be joined by Grammy Award-winning vocalist Lani Hall Alpert. Lani is a Bond girl in her own right. She sang the title song for the James Bond movie, Never Say Never Again, which featured the last appearance of Sean Connery as James Bond. How cool is that? Lani was born and raised in Chicago. She became a professional vocalist and lyricist at age 19. She traveled the world as a performer, beginning as a lead singer with Sergio Mendes and Brazil 66. She recorded 12 albums in English, Spanish, and Portuguese. And in 1985, Lani won a Grammy Award for her Latin CD, Es Feliz Amar. Lani has written many lyrics throughout her career, and Emotional Memoirs and Short Stories is her first book, which is the reason she's here to talk with us today. And this just in, Lani will be on with Tavis Smiley on PBS early next week, so be sure to check that out. That will be awesome. So back to the book. You can win a copy of this book if you go to BookTrib.com and click our Enter to Win button, and this could be all yours. It's an amazing book. And Lani will join us to tell you a little bit more about it. I see her. She's waiting in the wings for us, looking beautiful. Let's put her on screen. Hi, Lani. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. We're so happy to have you here.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So I'm going to let you have the floor and just do your thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, everybody, for watching and for your questions. Here's a question from Book Crazy Lady. How did you first meet your husband, Herb Alpert? What qualities drew you to him, and what do you attribute your long-lasting marriage? Well, I first met my husband, Herb Alpert, when I was singing with Sergio Mendes' group, Brazil 66. We auditioned for A&M Records, and Herb owned A&M Records with his partner, Jerry Moss, and they were at the audition, and that's how I met him. And he fell in love with the sound of the group, beautiful Brazilian music. And he actually, not only did we were recording artists for A&M Records, but he also wanted us to open the show for the hottest group in the world at the time, which was Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass. So we got an amazing amount of exposure, and that really changed the road that we were on. We were playing small clubs, and now suddenly we were standing in front of 20,000 people on stage. So that happened overnight. And that's how we met, and qualities that drew me to him were his kindness, his sweetness, and gentle nature, and his generosity, and his honesty, and his talent. And we're going to be celebrating our 40th wedding anniversary next month. And I think that one of the reasons why we've lasted so long is we have a great communication, and we accept each other, and we respect each other. So thank you for your question. And Rhonda, favorite song and why? I have so many. Oh gosh, I couldn't even begin to choose. No, I couldn't, because I love jazz, so I love jazz songs, and that I'm a pop singer as well. and a Brazilian artist, and I absolutely am madly in love with Brazilian music. So I'm sorry, Rhonda, but I can't answer that. I don't know how to answer that. From Karen Terry, I loved Fool on the Hill. I played it all the time when I was in college. When did you decide to become an author? I love that song too. I actually brought that song to Sergio. He started playing American music, English, I'm sorry. Started recording songs in English, and I brought him when did I decide to become an author? I didn't really decide to become an author. I was writing short stories. I was doing that form of writing since the early 1980s. And over a 30-year period, I would write short stories and just put them in a drawer. And that's as far as I thought it was going to go. Until about a year and a half ago, a friend of mine was recovering from surgery, and she wanted to read some of my stories. So I pulled out one that had to do with my being sick and dealing with the medical profession, and thought that she might relate to that. And she was so encouraging and wanted more and more of my stories. And after about 12 of them, she said, you've got a book here, Lani. Please put a book together. And her encouragement really motivated me, inspired me to do this. So that's Book Crazy Lady. These stories in the book are quirky, yet the women in it find themselves in situations that are real to many women. Do you have another book in the works? I have something in the works. I'm not really sure what it is yet. I kind of approach writing like a jazz singer. I improvise, and I let the music take me where it's going. And so that's what I'm doing with this. I've got about 40 pages now, and it's nonfiction right now. And so see where it leads me. Thank you for the question. Sanditon face painting. How does music affect the way you write? You find your writing has a rhythm. Great question. Yeah, my writing definitely has a rhythm, and I do hear the music of the story when I'm writing. In fact, I'm thinking of doing an audiobook and actually scoring these stories like as if they were movies, because I could hear that in my head. I can hear. I can't listen to music when I'm writing because the writing has its own music, and so and each sentence has its own rhythm. So I'm very aware of that when I write. I don't feel that there's much of a difference for in my process for singing and for writing. Very similar. Passion for fiction. Have you had any strange or unusual fan encounters? An unusual one was in San Francisco about a year and a half ago. We were performing, and after the show, we met some people that were in the audience, and this one woman, she kept crying. She was so moved by, and so she was so caught up in the songs that I had recorded over the years that apparently had helped her in trying situations, that she couldn't. She was so overcome by it, and that was very moving. And I just sat with her until she got her breath and some water, calmed her down a little bit. But that was an unusual experience for me. Tiny Book Monkey, do you write poetry? Yes, I write poetry. I started writing. That's how I began writing. As a teenager, I would write a lot of poetry. When I joined Brazil 66, I always had a pen in hand when we were touring and on the road, and I was always writing poetry, and that's how Sergio actually came up to me one day and said, what are you writing all the time? What is this? And I showed him some of my poems, and that's when he gave me the opportunity to write English lyrics to some of the Brazilian songs that we were doing. And that's when I started to become a professional lyricist as well. Yes, I do. My husband and I write poems to each other for every occasion, for birthdays, anniversaries, Valentine's Day. That's what we give each other. We give each other poems. Karen Terry, do you play any instruments? No, I don't. I do not play instruments. I play vocal cords. Those are my instruments. I play a little guitar, very. Savvy book. Did you ever take singing lessons? I never took singing lessons until about mid-1980s, when I wanted my voice to fly, and I didn't know how to do that myself. And so I took singing lessons for a short period of time, and I found that it started to change the sound in my voice when I would sing, so I stopped. Nellie. I love Putting on the Ritz music video. I know, it's so great. Who came up with the concept for that video, and can you talk a little bit about it? And can you talk a little bit about Randy Alpert and his killer dance moves? Well, Randy Alpert actually did the loop, the rhythm track for Putting on the Ritz, and sent it to Herb, and Herb started playing all different kinds of songs over that loop, and then he hit on Putting on the Ritz, and it was immediate. It just worked right away. And then a friend of ours, Glenn Kino, had known Tabitha and Napoleon Duomo, who are the hip-hop choreographers on So You Think You Can Dance. And we talked to them about putting a video together. And lo and behold, the day came when we put that whole video together, and it was done in one camera shot, the whole thing. We went through it about 4 times. And I thought it was fantastic. I mean, you dancer Vincent is just wonderful. It's just perfect. So that's how that came to be. And Randy Alpert, who is also called Captain Badass, is Herb's nephew, and also co-wrote with Andy Armour the #1 hit single that Herb had in 1979 called Rise. Randy is a very talented man. Jennifer Isad. My parents still have the Herb Alpert album with the girl on the cover, covered in whipped cream. I love his music. There are people that have that album that have never listened to it because they just wanted the picture. It's a very, very famous, iconic album cover. And the woman, Dolores Erickson is her name. actually has a website where you can send your album to her and she'll autograph it and send it back to you. And still goes on. Karen Terry. What kind of books do you like to read? I like to read spiritually oriented books. I like to read, I've been reading a lot of American Buddhists, and right now I'm also reading Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art, and I'm also reading Brene Brown's Something Imperfections. It's very, very interesting. I don't read fiction. I find that I'm so impressionable that it starts to influence my style, and I don't want to do that. True to my voice. So don't read it. Cookie Monster. How long did it take you to write emotional memoirs and short stories? Do you have a favorite moment? It took me, it took me over 30 years actually to write all the stories that I've written, the short stories that I've written. It took me, after I knew I wanted to try to put something together, I would say it took about a year and a half to make it all gel. When I wrote the narrative that runs through the book, that ties all the stories together, that really was, I felt that then I had something. I had something that was a total piece. And so that was the clincher. The favorite moment in the book. Gee, I have to say, I really feel I feel such passion for all the stories. It's hard to just choose a moment in the book. I was surprised that so much of Chicago is in the book. I didn't set out to do that. I didn't even know that my impressions of Chicago had stayed with me and lived inside of me for such a long time. That was a surprise to me. And writing about the specific and particular light that Chicago has because of the wind and how it blows the clouds across the sky so quickly, and the light changes from moment to moment. I didn't really know I was feeling had those feelings until I started writing them, which is common for me. When I write, I define what my thoughts are, and I need to write to know them. How is writing a book different from writing a song? Well, my lyrics are very abstract, so my writing isn't abstract. I'm writing short story, but my poetry and writing lyrics, I've always been very abstract. And sometimes I'll listen to a song that I wrote a long time ago, and I'm not really even sure what I'm trying to say. It just kind of like word pictures, and it's abstract. It's pretty abstract. Thank you for that. Love the bookshelf behind you. What interesting items or books do you have on there? Oh God, I have a lot of books. I've got all my albums are there, if you can see them. I have meditation tapes are there. All my, there's books about non-toxic households and health foods. There's now, Ram Dass, Thich Nhat Hanh, John Kabat-Zinn, Hina Chodron, Sylvia Boorstein. There's a lot of Buddhist books there. The pictures that mean something to me. My Grammy was, yeah, my Grammy Award. So yeah, so I'm running out of space. The cover has such a free-flowing, airy feel to it. Do you think it captures the mood of the book? Oh, most definitely. Meryl Moss had everything to do with that image, that cover. She really helped me put that whole thing together. And I feel that image feels a little bit like the Chicago wind is blowing her hair, somebody falling backwards and that sky behind it with the light behind it. It really captures what's inside the book. So I'm very, very happy with it. It captures the mood beautifully. What are some of your favorite books? Are there any of your list? Well, I've spoken about the books that I read, and it seems that any time that I'm drawn to a book, I can't wait to get my hands on it to try to read it. So I'm always ordering books, but I'm reading two at the same time right now, so I think that's all really handle. Thanks for the question. What made you want to release such a deeply personal novel? Well, I think that writers need to write their story before they could really separate from it completely and move to another place. But I also think that writers can only really write about what they know. And, I don't think you can know about anything else more than you know about yourself. And if you keep digging, you keep discovering. So I think anything that I write will be deeply personal. Right. If readers could only take away one thing after reading your book, what would it be? Well, for me, it would be hope. Because within the darkness that's in my book, and there's darkness in that book, in each story, there's some darkness. And, but there's always a hope. There's always hope that coming out of that darkness, the light will shine before you go through another darkness. And that's what I would want readers to take away. Finished. What do you want reviewers to say about it? Well, I whatever they feel, whatever they're feeling, whatever's true for them. I mean, I don't think you can expect everybody to like everything that you do, so whatever they feel about it. You write music for you or others? I've written some music. Well, I've written a lot of lyrics. I've written some music, but I don't think that's my strong suit. I think words are more my strong suit than writing music. But I love arranging. I really love that. And I spend a lot of time on my own albums and then the albums that my husband and I do together. I spend a lot of time arranging and working on the feeling with movement, the sounds that we make. So, love it. You like classic jazz or smooth jazz? Do you think there's a difference? Oh yeah, I do. There's a big difference. But I like cool jazz, which is not smooth jazz. I like cool jazz, that jazz of the 60s. Stan Getz and Chet Baker, Miles Davis, Lee Morgan, Horace Silver, Jazz Crusaders, singers like June Christie and Anita O'Day, Connie McRae, Ruth Olay, and I think, and classic jazz. I love classic jazz. I'm not a big bebopper, so I like bebop, but I gravitate more towards cool jazz. So Bill Evans. I think there's a big difference between smooth jazz and smooth jazz is more transition jazz to me. It feels more like background jazz. And if you really just want to listen to jazz, then I would go more classic. How has the music industry changed since you first started? Well, the internet is obvious. The internet has killed the music industry. I mean, it's killed composers, and it's really, really difficult to make a living being a musician now because people aren't paid anymore. My husband had this biggie. He did this record that he took some part of Rise from, which was my husband's record. And he had a huge record with this in Europe. It had something like 850,000 hits on YouTube. And he received a check for $18. So it's really a different industry. Record companies aren't that important anymore. You can start your own record company. Even recording studios aren't even that important. You can do everything on computer now. So it's good on one hand because it really gives you a lot of flexibility and a lot of options. On the other hand, it's really hard to make a living as a musician, composer. Why did you choose to write short stories? I think it's just a form that really is natural to me. Maybe it's because I saw so many movies as a kid and just loved movies and It's, you know, a 2-hour thing. You sit down, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and there you are, and you leave the theater. My stories are very cinematic. So, and when I'm writing them, I can visually see what's unfolding before me. And I just kind of watch it and write about what I'm seeing. So it's a very natural art form to write short stories. Where is the one place you'd like to travel most on Earth? Well, I sing Fly Me to the Moon, and what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars, that line always resonates with me. But my favorite place on the planet is in my husband's arms. It's just it. That's just the truth. Wherever he is, I'm home. And that's where I want to be. What was it like to know that your husband was awarded the National Medal of Arts from President Obama earlier this year? It was thrilling, absolutely thrilling. It was so exciting. The National Medal of Arts Award is the highest honor that you could give an artist, that the United States government can give an artist. And he received that for his music career, for his art that he does. He's a painter and a sculptor, and for his philanthropy from the Herb Alpert Foundation. So it was wonderful. We went to the White House. President Obama put this award around his neck and took pictures, and it was a real celebration. And such an honor. It's just wonderful. It's wonderful. I love it when he's honored. He deserves every honor. Is there anyone you would like to perform? I would have liked to have performed with Judy Garland. Lambert Hendricks and Ross. I can't think of any. I wanted to perform with my husband, and we've been doing that now for the last 7 years. So I really feel fortunate that musically my dreams really have come true. How do you compare being a singer and musician to being an author in terms of the creative process? I don't find much of a difference, personally. I really feel like, as I said about the visual artist, I mean, when I sing, I visually see lyrics unfold and the story in front of me. And the same thing happens when I'm writing. So that process, that creative process is very similar. So I don't find much of a difference in the creative process of singing. If you could no longer write or perform, what would you do to pass time? Play with my grandson. Well, I really feel fortunate that, you know, if I couldn't sing anymore, for whatever reason, age or whatever happens, I don't see that how I would ever stop writing. It's been with me all my life, so I really, and I feel that sense of release when I write, just as when I sing. And I felt that way with my husband too, when he started painting and sculpting. I felt how fortunate he was that if he ever stops playing the trumpet, he has an outlet. He has a creative outlet with painting and sculpting. So I think that the arts really blur into each other. And I think if you're a creative person, any kind of creativity will work for you on some level. I tried painting, I couldn't do it. But I love photography, and I have plans to develop that art too. So I think that you just have to experiment and see what you resonate with. You and your husband did disguising with Dave Cause. It's fun and groundbreaking. It was beautiful. We went to, I believe it was Oakland? It was in Oakland. And it's just so loving. It was a very loving shoot. And everyone was so happy to be sharing this moment with each other. And I thought it was beautiful. I was really happy that we were involved. What advice would you give to young artists, musicians, writers? I would say just do it. Just write if you're a writer. Don't be afraid. Let it fly. Don't edit yourself. If you're a singer, you don't need an audience. If you're an artist, you're an artist. And if you can't find an audience that wants to listen to you, then sing in your room. Learn songs. When I was a teenager singing in my room, I learned hundreds and hundreds of songs, singing with these albums of these great artists. I had no idea that this was going to be like a landscape for me when I was older, that I could walk into any room with any musicians and know the songbooks of material that I knew just because I was singing in my room as a teenager. So just sing or play, listen to other musicians and feel what they're doing, learn from what they're doing, but don't try to sound like them, because they sound like them. You're not going to sound better than them. So you want to sound like you. And I think finding your own identity in your art, that's where the truth is, and that's where you'll be happiest. My beauty secrets? Love. Love is my beauty secret. Yeah. Being loved. That makes you feel alive. That's my beauty secret. Love. Thank you. Do you ever attend the theater? Do you have a favorite musical or play? We attend the theater, yes. My favorite musicals are West Side Story and A Chorus Line. I have a hard time with musicals, but not those two. So full of heart and emotion. Those are my favorite musicals. What has been the most memorable moment as a singer? Just, we performed last night, and just being with musicians that you can create with. and you can hear their creating, and you become one with this band. It's just always memorable. And always, I just am so full of gratitude to be able to experience that kind of connection and creative energy, that we're all doing the same thing for the greater good. You know, it's just a fantastic experience. So whenever that can happen, that's a memorable night. That's a memorable. Some of these stories have to do with sexual desire. Can you talk about some? There are two that I can, three that I can think of. One of them is about, it's called Mr. Belmont, and it's about a woman who's married, and their marriage is kind of lukewarm. They just kind of take each other for granted, and there's nothing really going on anymore. They see each other after work, they see each other. If they don't, they don't. It's not a big deal. Nothing's a big deal. And so when she goes to work, she starts noticing this man on the platform of the train station, and she starts thinking she's falling in love with this guy. And she finagles her way into getting into his life. And finally, after almost having an affair with this man, she realizes that it isn't him, it's the way he makes her feel. It's the way she feels when she's looking at him. And she realizes that she has a lot of work to do with her husband if she wants to save him. And I think a lot of women feel that when they're attracted to another person. But it's not really that person. It's the elephant in the room that they're not looking at. And another story is about a couple who turns out that her husband is gay. And she doesn't know how to wrap her mind around that kind of betrayal and what she's supposed to do. How is she supposed to fall out of love with somebody she's loved for so long? And she's angry, and she knows she needs to be forgiven. And this is about forgiveness, this story. How long did you tour with Sergio Mendes in 1966? For 5 years. I was the lead singer of this group for 5 years. And we toured 11 months out of the year. We were off 1 month. And it was a great education to be on the road, to be around musicians, to be exposed to that phenomenal music. Do you have a favorite book? It's a movie adaptation. I would say The Godfather. West Side Story. Contact. You were dropped in Walgreens with $10. What would you come out with? Benadryl? I don't know. What did I come out with in Walgreens? Oh, pens and paper. I get $10 worth of pens and paper. Notebook, okay, and pens. That's crap. Interesting question. Why are all of these stories set in Chicago? Well, because I'm from Chicago, and I know Chicago. And I think Chicago is a very romantic, passionate, beautiful, seductive, exciting, colorful, artistic city. And it's exciting for me to write and think about the backdrop that I'm writing about is the city, and to be able to write about that. Really, you know, I think about Mr. Belmont. Mr. Belmont was like almost a Valentine. The story of Mr. Belmont in the book. It was almost a Valentine to Chicago. It's exciting for me to write about this. And also Chicago packs a lot of emotion. Thank you so much, Lani. This has been an incredible chat. Can you please let our lovely viewers know that they can win a copy of Emotional Memoirs and Short Stories Now on BookTrib. Very nice. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you all for your questions.